Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we'll be making this long bubu dress that is snatched around the waist. Thank you so much for stopping by, and without wasting time, let's get right into the video. So first we have the materials that we'll be working with. Of course, our fabric. This is like silk. I'm not sure exactly what the name is. I have around 2.5 yards of this fabric. And then we'll be needing our hemming gum and bias tape. All right, so the first thing will be to fold our fabric. So I divided the fabric into two. One was bigger, and that's the one we'll use for the front. So I folded it in half and I used pins to hold it down. So this folded edge is right here towards me. And then I'm going to mark out 1.5 inches from this folded edge inwards. So I'll just note those points from this top area down to the full length of the fabric. So I'll quickly make those marks, and then I'm going to connect them with a straight line from the top down to the end of the fabric. Alright, so after that, I brought the remaining half piece and I'm placing it on top of this other one that is already on the table. So I'm going to place it on this line that we just drew. So I'll just pull the edge and align it with the line that we just marked now. So I'll go to the top and mark the starting line, which is also the shoulder line. Now we're going to start with our neck measurements. I'm using 3 inches for the neck width, and I'm using 1.5 inches for the back neck depth. And you can see that I'm starting my measurements from the folded edge of the second fabric. So guys, sorry I skipped this area. That was the marking of the half shoulder length. Then I went ahead to mark the shoulder slope, and then I connected the shoulder slope to the neck width. So the fabric on top is going to be the back piece, while the one that's on the table, the first one we started with, will be the front piece. So from the shoulder slope, I marked my armhole opening, and then I extended the line inwards like this. Now I'm going to put the widest measurement of my body on this chest line. So I did my round hip measurements divided by 4 plus 4 extra inches for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. That's a total of 5 extra inches. And now from that point that we marked, I'll just draw a straight line all the way to the end of the fabric. I ended up using the entire length, so I didn't really mark a full length of the dress. So now we'll start cutting. I've cut out the back neckline and the shoulder slope. Then I went back to make the curve around the arm. Alright, so after cutting out, I'm now going to take out my pins. The fabric is slippery, so I use pins to hold them together. So I've taken out the back piece, and this one that is left, which is the front piece, I'm now going to mark out the front neckline. So you can see I'm placing my tape at the 1.5 inch mark as if we're marking the back neckline, and I just took the 3-inch mark there. And I'm just going to cut that out quickly. Then I came down from the front neck depth to 4 inches because if you noticed, there's a slit at the front neckline. Then I opened up this center fold from the top straight down to the bottom because the dress has a slit at the neckline and also at the bottom. Now, from that 4-inch depth, we're going to sew a straight line to where you want the slit to start in front. So I started mine around here, around 23 or 24 inches. So I marked that point from the bottom upwards. And our straight stitch will start from the 4-inch mark from below the front neck depth to this other mark down here. All right, so now we're going to determine where the inner belt will be. I want to sort everything out, so once we start sewing, we just go ahead and sew until we're done. All right, so from the shoulder line, I came down to my shoulder to waist measurement. For me, that's around 19 inches. So I'm going to extend that line, that point horizontally like this. And then I'm going to go up 1 inch from this waistline that we just marked now. Also extend it with a straight line like this. And now I'm going to mark my round waist measurement divided by 4, starting from that 1.5 inch mark that we made earlier. Okay, so I marked that point because the belt will sit right inside this space. So I need to do the same thing on the other side of this front piece. So I just put my pins there, flip the fabric over, and I use my chalk to mark exactly where the pins came out. The pin, sorry. So now I can take out my pin, and the chalk mark is on the other side. Don't worry, you get a better picture as you keep watching. Okay, so now I have sewn from the top to where I want my front slit to start. So when you open it up, this is what the work should look like. Okay, so now I've turned it over to the wrong side, and that 1.5 inch mark that we made earlier, I'll just fold the fabric over like this and give it a really good press from the bottom to the top so that everything stays really flat and smooth. So now we're going to use our hemming gum to make sure that the fabric really stays down. So I did this in bits, cut out a piece of hemming gum, spritz it with water, and then give it a good press. So the hemming gum helps the fabric to stay down really nice and, stays in place. It doesn't move around. So you keep doing that from this top straight down to the very end of the dress, like to the hem of your dress, wherever you want the dress to stop. Now after doing that, I'll now start working on the neck. So for the neck, I used bias tape to turn the front and the back. And when I finished that, to make my work easier, I decided to attach the inner belt on the front fabric before we join the dress because it's going to be easier that way. So I have around, around the length of the fabric really depends on how big or small you are, and the width is 4 inches. So I cut out 2 strips of fabric, folded them over on the wrong side, gave it a good press and joined it around and sewed it straight down. All right, so now we'll go back to the dress, and I want to now attach this belt to the front piece. So I've already sewn it on the wrong side, so I'll just turn it over now, and I'm just using a pencil to do that. You can use your scissors or any long straight fabric you have. You can still use your safety pin to do this. So I left a small opening. I didn't sew all through. Okay. So pull out the corners properly and give it a nice press this way. And now let me show you how we're going to attach it to the front piece. So remember those points we marked? I'm just highlighting them now with my chalk so that it's more obvious. So this is how you're going to attach or sew the inner belt to the front piece. Make sure you sew up that place to close it up, and then place it on those points we marked and give it a really nice stitch to hold it down. Repeat the same thing on the other side. And guys, I can tell you it's really easier to do this before you join the dress because you know you're working with only one piece. Of course, you do a good front and back stitch, a good back stitch when you start and also when you finish. But please make sure your stitches are neat because this is going to show on the other side of the dress. That's on the right side of the dress when you put it on. Okay, so I'm just showing you what it looks like. All right, now we can join the dress at the shoulders. Place them right side on top of each other and join with 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Okay, and when you do that, you can then go ahead to turn the sleeve with the bias tape. So I just wanted to show you here, I've already done the first stitch on the right side with the bias tape. So when you flip the bias tape over to the wrong side, this is what it should look like. So this time I used my ball head pins to hold the bias tape down while I sewed. So I noticed since the fabric is really slippery, I don't know if it's my sewing machine or I don't know, but when I pulled on the other end, it made the fabric come out, like the stitches were really neat and smooth on the other side. Okay, so this is what I mean, it was really neat. All right, so after you turn the sleeves with the bias tape, you can now join the dress starting from the round armhole opening. Use the 1-inch sewing allowance and sew it straight down to the end, and your dress is ready. This is what we have. Very simple, very quick. You won't believe how easy it is to make this dress. It looks complicated until you make one yourself. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate. I hope you check out my other videos. Support me by liking, sharing, subscribing, and turning on your notifications so you always be here to watch every time I upload. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment. As always, I'll be here to respond. So till next time, guys. Bye.